Welcome to the Nature Photo Guys podcast,
where we talk about nature photography, from gear to our philosophies and everything in between.
So grab a cup of coffee, sit back and relax.
You're listening to Joe Desjardins
and Chris Gibbs, the Nature Photo Guys. Okay, do I look okay? Forward, everything's okay here?
For Saturday morning, yeah. All right.
Can't fix stupid, but that's okay.
My makeup artist can make it this morning. So
I can tell actually. Yeah, I can tell. Yeah, I can tell. So.
Isn't there some sort of video filter you can put on? Or?
Yeah, well, it'll take a little bit to work on that, but I'll give it a try, man. So.
We actually used to have. They used to be like when we used to shoot film, and I used to do weddings and portraits. So it was actually a diffuser. Or like, I guess you'd call it like a glamour filter.
Oh, yes.
You know? Yeah. And it was the Koken system we used to use.
Oh, yeah.
And so for the ladies, we'd put this filter on and it'd give you that nice soft skin tone.
Oh, I see.
Which is, like something you'd use today, like using that Gaussian blur or whatever in Photoshop, just to kind of soften
smooth out the
up.
skin and stuff.
Yeah, that kind of thing, right? So it's, it's one of those things that we used to use. And
wish you had one today, hey?
Yeah. Actually, let me check. No.
Yeah, exactly.
See if I still have one in the bag.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how we get those nice, soft, how do you say that? Heavenly photos of moose.
Yes.
Drop in the filter. There you go.
That's right. Hey, that was a secret. You're not supposed to tell anybody that.
That's one of our wildlife secrets.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
One of many we'll have in a book someday, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Sure. The Nature Photo Guys glamour filter for wildlife.
That'll probably be the first and only book of that.
That's right. That's right.
Oh man.
Oh my God. So what are we going to talk about today, Chris?
Well, I think we're just going to have a bit of a chat today. Hey, we talk
coffee talk.
Hey, coffee talk with Chris and Joe, right? So
yeah, you bet.
I have a hockey stick and hockey puck. Sorry, I don't have a fancy bearer.
No, all my stuff's bears.
Yeah. So I'm a big sports guy, hockey guy. So that's I got a lot of hockey stuff going around. So
what's going on with that hockey stuff? Like I'm not really following it, but it looks like all the Canadian teams are playing the Canadian teams and the US. Yeah,
because of the COVID thing.
And then what's it going to be?
I think the top 4 come out of each division. And then they're going to play the conferences. They'll probably have like the hubs in like Edmonton, Toronto scenario. We don't fully know all the details yet. I think it's going to, there's been a ton of games been postponed because of the COVID thing. And there's some guys test positive and protocol and all this. So the season is going to get delayed a little bit. So hopefully the season gets completed. We don't even know because there's so many different issues, right? It's just a day by day thing.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure. I just kind of see them come up across YouTube or whatever like that, highlights. And it's like the same Canadian teams.
Yeah. The Canadian division is pretty cool. Like in the past, for example, like you'd play Edmonton 3 or 4 times a year. That's it. Mm-hmm. Now we're playing like 8, 9, 10, 11 times a year because it's all just they play in the Canadian division and don't play anybody else. So
that's
the division play within. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So we'll see.
Cool. Right on.
And what you doing?
Well, I haven't been doing much. I mean, what is it today? Minus 29 with the wind chill or something.
It's cold. Yeah.
That's why we're actually sitting indoors having coffee.
Yeah.
Just going to have a chit chat about photography. And
I think so.
I actually wanted to find out about like what actually got you started. Like where was that moment for, whether it was photography or video or whatever it was that, you finally decided. Because, some people were kind of, grew up with a camera in their hands at age 4.
Yep.
Some started like 5 years ago.
Sure.
And both are producing like wicked imagery, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, it's not necessarily like you got to put in 30 years of work to get to a certain point. Because, some people, I was just talking to somebody last week that, has an amazing eye, but doesn't know anything technical about their camera.
Sure. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah.
Nothing, but auto's working for them for some photos, you know what I mean? Like
sure.
When you're trying to control depth of field and all that kind of stuff, obviously you got to kind of know what you're doing a little bit.
Yep.
But so I mean, like what got you started? Like,
well, I've always been interested in photography and video, but in technology in general. Like when I was a kid, I mean, my dad was an architect here in the city of Calgary, and And I just remember him stopping and taking pictures of different things all over the place, right? So he would take pictures of us in front of the fireplace and all that. So I was always interested in photography here and there, but I wasn't the guy that picked up a camera at the age of 4 and I was just photography for life kind of thing. I kind of grew into that. I was technology for life, I would say. You know, I was always interested in the technology, the latest things. I remember years ago, I'm going to date myself a little bit, but my dad got for Christmas, The Office, he got for Christmas, him and his partner, a VHS player. And he brought it home, and it was one of the ones, the top loading ones, and it had a remote control. Nobody have ever had a remote control. It had this long, like 20-foot cord that you could use with the remote control, right? So I remember seeing that in technology and growing up and playing with the TV and stuff like that. But video was what really got me started. I was always interested in video, and so much that I ended up, after high school, went into broadcasting at SAIT here in Calgary. And I spent 27 years in broadcasting. So
really?
I did. Yeah. That was all over a bunch of different stations here in the city and national networks and that kind of thing. So
you're kidding.
Yeah, CTV, CMT, Country Music Television. I worked there for 3.5 years. Started a whole whack of channels at I don't know if you remember A Channel. That was Craig Broadcasting back in the day here in Calgary. And that ended up going over to City TV here. And we launched a whole bunch of national networks, MTV Canada, a whole bunch of stuff here in Calgary. So I guess for the last 19 years of my 27-year career, I was in a leadership role. And truthfully, I lacked the hands-on, I still knew almost more than on the technology side than the staff, because I always want to know the what ifs, the why, all that kind of stuff. So I want to know the product, right? And the equipment. I like the technical side. So I was really lacking that. So I really started to do some stuff on the side, did some web designing. And then I started getting into photography more. So I was playing with the video side here and there. But then I really started getting attracted to the photography side, the images, started following some photographers here and there, and got some, I think back in 2007, really, I ended up getting a 2.4 megapixel digital camera. I can't even remember the brand at the moment here, but it was like 2.4 megapixels. I was pretty damn excited. So got that and shot a lot with that and just started getting into it more and more and more. And I just realized over time that was really where my passion was on the creative side of that, right?
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Creating video, creating photos, and I just advanced doing it more and more, learning on my own. I did take a course online. I didn't go to a school for photography, but I did kind of take a course online. It was it was actually a diploma course. So, but it was more of an online thing, create as you go and that kind of stuff. And it's gotten more and more into it until in 2019 or 2018, we decided, my wife and I, that we just want to do this full time. I don't want to be in leadership anymore. I'm done with the corporate world, and I just wanted to get back to hands-on technical side, creating side, that sort of the world. So I guess that's a long-winded answer to your short question in a nutshell. But
hey, we only had 10 minutes here.
Sorry, and the podcast is done. So there we go.
So I got 2 minutes to explain.
You got 2 minutes. Go quick. No, seriously. But yours is cool. A little different than mine, I'm sure. Yeah.
It is. It's pretty much based on photography only, but that's surprising. I didn't realize you were in it for 27 years in broadcasting.
It was a long time. Crazy. I mean, it was a great time, but it was the corporate.
Tell them what else you do, though.
What was that?
Tell them what else you do, because you have another podcast. And you also do like voiceovers and stuff.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, actually. So for, I guess, since 2007, I guess I do voiceover work. So we do that online. So I'm a voice of a commercial or a company in Las Vegas, believe it or not. So yeah, so nice. I've always liked that kind of stuff. Years ago, I always wanted to be a play-by-play guy, right? For hockey, but I sometimes struggle with getting my words out, but reading scripts for voiceover and all that. That was right up my alley. So I've done a lot of, not a ton, but I've done a bunch of voiceover work over the years. And then I also do a sports podcast as well. It's called Off the Goalpost. So it's a buddy of mine started it 20 something years ago, and I kind of joined it.
That long ago?
He's been doing it for years, off and on, different things. Wow. He would write hockey stories or hockey articles and stuff. He's been doing it for a long time. So I joined him. I don't know. We dabbled a little bit in 2008. 2011, stopped for a while and started again a couple years back. Yeah, I do that here on the side. Hockey is a major passion of mine as well. So I watch a ton of hockey. So it's kind of me. So
I'm the hockey highlight kind of guy on YouTube.
Yeah.
9 minutes. That's enough.
You're done.
And then, and then the playoffs. Well, I'll watch the playoffs, right? But,
fair enough. Yeah.
I just, I used to be big into sports, but especially basketball.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of dropped off over the years, other things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Everything takes precedent. Kids come along, all that kind of stuff. You get busy, right? So it's, but both my kids played hockey as well. And did Taekwondo. So we've always been into sports, kind of a sports family kind of thing. So, it's been pretty cool. But, and yourself, you've done it your whole life, probably, right? I suppose, right?
Late teens.
Is that right? Yeah.
I always kind of had an interest in photography. I remember my first camera was Minolta.
Whoa. Yep.
A Minolta A7000, I want to say. I can't remember. I think it was a Minolta. I think that was the model number. Okay.
Nice. Yeah.
So I don't know how much that's dating me. I think after the Minolta is when I switched over to Canon.
Okay. Yep.
So when I say I've been pretty much Canon guy all my life, that's, I didn't have the Minolta all that long. I don't remember, but I started out with the Canon AE1.
Okay.
And then I went to the Canon A1. So the Canon A1 back then was like the Nikon F1. It was kind of like the workhorse. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Yeah.
And I remember getting the power winder.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, so you didn't have to mechanically advance the film.
No, really.
It was amazing.
Wow.
Oh yeah, and it was like probably 2 seconds per 1 frame per 2 sec, whatever. However, the frames per second. It went. So you take the picture, and then take another picture.
Wow.
So it was pretty cool back then. And then actually, you know what? I know this is kind of going around things, but. So basically, my first real gig was in a photo studio back in Sault Ste. Marie, right?
Okay, yep.
Shooting weddings and portraits and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, I don't know what it was. Should have researched this, but it just came to mind right now. Canon came out with an eye control camera.
Oh.
Okay. So I think it was, maybe it was a Canon 6E. But when you looked, you had the camera had to learn your eye.
Okay,
and then wherever you looked, whatever autofocus point you looked at, that became your focus point.
Oh,
your
wow.
autofocus point. So you didn't have to physically change the autofocus points with a dial. Oh. This is still film.
Wow, that was like a huge step in those days, I'm sure.
Oh, that was huge technology, right?
Yeah.
So basically, I kind of started with that. I mean, I did some nature stuff. Like when I applied for that job, I had to give them a portfolio, and most of the portfolio was nature.
Sure.
So, but I guess they saw something there, and I started with them, and I got thrown into wedding photography pretty much like, okay, you're hired. Here's a bag. There's a flash.
Right.
Off you go. And I'm like, wow. You know what I mean?
Figure it out.
It's kind of crazy, right? So,
yeah.
But no, I did pretty good, and just kind of progressed from there, right? So,
yeah.
And then, a lot of it was studio stuff. We didn't do too much outside,
No.
Back then, we didn't do too much, what you call environmental portraiture, right?
Sure. Yep.
So we'd shoot all the square format stuff like the Hasselblad and the Bronicas and, the 6.7 stuff and whatever. And, they were all like kind of like the 3 and the 4 light setups, that, you'd have it was called a master background, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And then you'd have a light on that. Then you'd have a hair light. Then you'd have your main and then your fill.
Right.
So it was pretty much cookie cutter stuff, right?
Yeah.
And those lights were kind of set up and stayed that way in the studio.
So people would move in and then stand here,
change some backgrounds or that kind of thing. And then if we had to go shoot sports, because we did a lot of hockey photography, right?
Okay, yeah.
With sports cards and that for the kids.
Yeah.
Then, we just unhooked a couple of lights. We had a couple extra stands and off we went, right?
Yeah.
So did that for a while. And then we ended up moving to Thunder Bay. And then I worked for a studio there and did more of that. I kind of, after a while, kind of took over the studio and did, again, weddings and whatever commercial stuff that I remember doing, like a CD cover for an artist and,
cool.
That kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But even then, I mean, you want to talk about old school. If we were shooting like square, like a Hasselblad.
Yep.
We had to actually use paper crop cards.
Oh, you're kidding.
So we put the negative down on the light table. Then we take the crop card and say we wanted a 4:5 format or something.
Yeah.
And then so we, specifically tape it in a certain spot, tape it, and then it would go to the enlarger.
Wow.
And then they make the prints from that, right?
Because that was the only way to do it, really, I suppose.
Well,
right?
yeah. And then once the print was made, if there was any dust or whatever in the processing, or somehow it got on the film, then I'd sit there and I'd retouch with specific dyes, like what you do in Photoshop today.
Yeah, the real healing brush.
But exactly. And if you screwed up, if it became obvious, and I remember times where I was trying to do it on a baby, right, like on the skin, and it turned into looking like a zit. You know what I mean? So I was like, got to reprint another one,
Yes.
and having to do that, right? So.
Well, that would have been time consuming for that whole process, I suppose.
Well, yeah, you bet. So, and then after that, we went into the scanner, and then we started with Adobe Photoshop 4.0.
Yeah. Okay.
And then from there it just kind of grew, right?
Yes.
And then after moving to Calgary, I was the same as you. I was probably around 2007, 2008. And I purchased this at the camera store in Calgary.
Okay.
It was a Canon Elan. It was the silver body.
Oh,
and I think it was about a 2 megabyte.
Like the digital camera. Yep.
The digital camera.
Yeah.
And I remember the LCD screen at the back was 1 inch.
Oh.
My brother still has one.
Are you serious?
And that's why I know this, because I forgot the specs and stuff.
Yeah.
And he was saying when he tried it, a couple of years ago, he said it took so long for the image to load.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Looking at it on the little screen. And I think I actually still have a couple of my 256K cards. Or I don't know if they're 256. No, but 256 megabyte cards.
Yeah, because I remember I bought a 128 megabyte USB stick for $128 at one point. You know what I mean? It used to be $1 a meg, right? So
it was crazy, but and then I mean, obviously, did a little bit of wildlife nature photography in Ontario, and then took photos of fishing and stuff, and actually had like a fly fishing website and
nice,
that kind of stuff that I designed. So it was kind of cool. And then and then Calgary is an obvious nature photography place.
Anybody wants to ever get into that, I mean, come here, right?
Nature photography, I mean, like you're now when you're right in the mountains, right in Kananaskis, right? And then all the local parks and fishing the Bow River, taking photos of fish, whatever, right? It was pretty much kind of a given that was going to happen, right?
Yes, for sure. Yeah. Well, I think here in Calgary, I think we have the biggest. I can't remember. It's the biggest park in the city in North America, Fish Creek Park. Like it's bigger than.
The way it spreads out, like Debo and
it's so big.
Bottom, and then
it's so long, goes for a long time, right?
Yeah, it's just all over the place. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. So I mean, that's kind of the short version of it, right?
Yeah.
I did take a break a few times. Kind of gave it a rest. Like when I went from Thunder Bay to Calgary, I probably took a good couple of year.
Is that right? Yeah.
Kind of stole all my stuff except for like a camera body and a lens and that kind of thing. And then,
is that right? Okay.
And then that was all my medium format stuff.
Yeah.
And then, I kind of got back into it and kind of been doing it since. Yeah. So, that's the short form. I mean, I still enjoy, like I got a photo shoot today, this afternoon. My daughter, she's a huge cosplayer, right?
Yes. Yep.
And, makes all her own costumes and stuff. And, I couldn't even tell you the character we're doing. She told me this morning, I already forgot. Kika, I don't know. It's
sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even know. She could spell it out for me and I wouldn't know how to say it right.
Oh, for sure. So, yeah, I can imagine.
So we're going to actually go do that down. It's minus 29, but we're going to do it at a parking garage.
Oh, okay.
Parking garage underground. So yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm going to bring a couple of lights,
nice.
Some gels, and see what we can come up with.
Create something fun. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's not that I don't enjoy other types of photography.
Yeah.
It's just about 7 years ago, I guess, or whatever, 7 or 8 years ago, I just kind of stopped doing wedding photography.
Sure.
Now, I've done a couple of weddings for friends in between that time. Right.
Yeah.
So I got away from that. And the last one was just a beautiful wedding, nice mountain wedding, Lake Louise and all that kind of stuff.
Perfect setting. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was. And then, And then, still do some portrait stuff. And,
Sure.
I did some equine portraiture, horse and rider and that kind of stuff. Photographing my daughter at horse shows, and, she's a hunter jumper type of rider, and, the odd Gymkhana and that kind of stuff. Right. So that was a lot of fun.
Nice.
But, right now the main focus is nature photography, right? I'd like to get out and be a little more creative, doing some portrait work and stuff like that. But just seems like the time's never there, or.
Well, especially with COVID right now, you can't really go near people.
And COVID right now, yeah, exactly.
That doesn't help you. So
it's like, take the mask off. Okay, put the mask back on.
Well, you got lines where your mask was.
That's right. That's right. So that's a whole lot of Photoshop work. So.
Yeah, totally.
But so there's my short version.
So what do you do? What do you do for fun, or what do you like to do outside of the photography world?
Binging Netflix.
Oh, perfect.
Actually, not even Netflix, YouTube. I'm absolutely addicted to YouTube. Yeah. And the genres vary,
Oh, is that right?
But I follow a lot of photographers on there.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Like Wild and Exposed, Thomas Heaton. Thomas Heaton's one of my favorites. Favorite ones. I think I got you onto Thomas, didn't I?
Oh, I've watched Thomas for years. Oh, okay. Yeah, Thomas, the Wild and Exposed thing for sure. Yeah, you've got me onto that one for sure. Thomas has always been, he's just kind of like a regular guy, right? I mean, I really like Peter McKinnon too, but Peter McKinnon's kind of on another level. Does a lot of video.
He's just over the top. And
he's awesome. He's awesome.
Yeah, and he's got his own creative work, you know what I mean?
Totally.
So, totally different than Thomas, right? Yeah. And with Thomas, he's got, he's such a laid back, down to earth guy. Not that Peter isn't, I'm just saying, but he's just a different guy, right? Yeah. And just out there and, creating stuff out of nothing, Yeah. And then he has his bad days where, he's like, I can't really find anything,
Totally.
So try and make some of that. But I remember, was it probably good 3 or 4 years ago, I did a seminar at the chemist store on landscape photography. Right. And not knowing how big Thomas was, but even back then, I showed a short little YouTube clip of him something like why I do landscape photography or something. It was about 2.5 minutes.
Okay.
Everything from, getting up, shutting the alarm clock off to, venturing up in the dark and that kind of thing. And, it just kind of got me hooked on the whole YouTube thing and the amount of information that's out there. It's absolutely, when people ask me to answer a lot of questions or whatever. Yeah. And, I'm always happy to answer them, and, I'll usually type them out and send the emails back or whatever. But a lot of times I'll just send a YouTube link. Oh yeah. Because it's just like 5 minutes of YouTube is like 20 minutes of trying to explain something that, like, I'm a visual learner, right? Yes. Yeah. So if I see something on YouTube, I got it pretty much,
Agreed. Yeah, me too. Yep.
I may not be able to interpret it as well, but I've got the instruction, like, this is how you do it. Now it's up to me to create something using those instructions.
Fair enough. Yeah, absolutely. That's with anything really. I mean, I've changed a car battery out watching YouTube, right? So I mean, it's amazing what you can find out there, Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, it's... You like
ice fishing, right?
Yeah, ice fishing, been out a few times, and fly fishing, come summertime and stuff. And, like to go with my brother and the niece and nephew and my daughter and, that kind of stuff. We'll do that kind of thing. Nice. What else? I read a lot, a ton of different genres there too.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't mind playing poker once in a while. I enjoy the games. I enjoy games that actually get your mind working, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just kind of a
use
fun
it or
thing
lose
to do.
It, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing. Archery.
Nice.
Big in archery. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Tie my own flies too. I really enjoy fly tying. That was part of my fly fishing website I had way back in Northern Ontario. A lot of it was showing tied flies, and we'd have fly exchanges. I'd have some people out of the US where it was like every month you'd kind of send a fly, and it was kind of neat, because that was way back when, way before all this, touching base easily through email or websites and stuff, right? And I don't know, if I look at my closet, hiking, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
I don't know. I mean, just a lot of outdoor stuff and a lot of chill stuff too, right? So.
Sure. Yeah. That's one thing I can't get into. I have to admit, I can't get into reading. I can't sit still. I have a hard time actually sitting still. I always got to keep moving. So I'm always like, even in front of the TV, I'm always doing something else, right? I just can't.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what that's just me. Just my mind just keeps wandering, right? So it's I have a hard time staying focused. So reading a book is difficult for me. But it's funny watching YouTube or creating or doing stuff. I can do that for hours. So.
And what about listening to a podcast?
Listening to podcasts too. I listen to podcasts driving in the car, right? So if I'm out looking for wildlife, I'm listening to podcasts in the truck or whatever, right? So I enjoy doing that. Or on my if I'm shoveling the walk or something, I'll listen to something as well. I'm a huge music guy. I'm kind of still stuck in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, me too. You should see some of my playlists, like, Poison, Quiet Riot, Def Leppard.
I have Sirius XM in the car, right? So the only channel that stays on there is Hair Nation. So
nice.
Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, Poison, Warrants, all those guys. I'm stuck in that time frame. So it's, I like other music as well, but
for sure.
That and podcasts, I really enjoy that going in the truck, especially when you're going for like a long drive, or if you're out for driving the country for 6 hours looking for wildlife or landscapes. You can get through like a ton of podcasts just by and they're enjoyable. Like they keep you entertained, right? So it's again doing multiple things at the same time, driving but also listening, so it's keeps your mind going. So for sure. And
I enjoy the nature podcast. I like a lot of the self-help stuff too. But I enjoy some of the poker podcasts too.
Oh, I haven't listened to those.
Yeah, because it's when I used to play, I've been playing for a lot of years.
Yeah.
But it's changed so much. It's even changed so much after 2 years. Every year, the programs are getting better, and the numbers are changing, and you can get even deeper into strategy and that kind of stuff. And that stuff just is very cool.
Yeah.
Like the math side of it, right? The psychology behind it and everything else, right?
Yeah. There's some actually big players in Canada, like Daniel Negreanu or whatever was like one of the most successful ranked ever. Yeah, absolutely. He's Canadian,
and he's out of Toronto, and he used to play pool. Growing up and hustling pool and stuff, and I think that's how he found poker, was kind of in the back rooms. You know what I mean? That kind of thing, right?
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
He was he just finished the Heads Up Challenge with Doug Polk. He played something like 25,000 hands online, which takes months to do, right? He had some like 35 or 40 sessions, and Negreanu ended up losing 1.2 million over the span of the Heads Up.
That sounds like a lot, but it's probably
a drop in the bucket.
Pocket change for him, right?
It is. Some of these buy-in like the one drop tournaments, it's $1 million to enter.
Sure. Yeah.
That's
crazy.
And to be honest with you, like, I know we're getting way off topic, but a lot of this stuff is they've got backers. I'd be surprised I'd be surprised if they put up anywhere from 20-30% of their own money.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
So that everybody else gets a piece of them, right?
Yes. Kind of thing. Yeah. So, it's no different.
So sorry, guys. I know we got way off topic, but today's just kind of a chat, right?
Yeah.
Kind of get talk. You guys. Well, and that's it. Give you a little bit more insight into what we're kind of into and that sort of thing, right? So
yeah, for sure.
So what about your kids? You got a couple kids?
Got a couple kids, yeah. One's in grade 11, one's in third year university. So both girls, nice. And they're.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
So your household's all women.
Yeah, that's why I've got a big male dog.
Oh, nice. Try to balance it a little, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. No, Griffin, he's a good dog. So yeah, he's it's funny. He's about 75 pounds. But we rescued him. We like to rescue dogs, right? So it's so we rescued him, and he'll be 10 years this May, and we take him hiking and all that with us. And it's funny, I'll never forget. We went to Johnson's Canyon hiking. We went all the way up to the top, and we're sitting in the river.
Oh, the ink pots and stuff.
The ink pots, yeah, right. There's the river up there and all that. We're sitting and having lunch at the river, and we literally counted how many times as we walked up and back, somebody actually physically stopped us and said, "Is your dog a wolf?" So
serious,
he looks like a gray wolf. But he's not. I mean, he's rescue. He could be from, they get him off the reserve and all that and rescue them there. So he could have a bit of that in him, but he's more of a husky. I think we did DNA and he's like 75% husky or something like that, but he's a great dog. He's a big guy. He's a pretty funny guy. So, but yeah, he definitely looks like a wolf. We've even had a bus tour stop us and want to take pictures with him and stuff, but nice. Obviously nobody's seen a real wolf in real life, because they're a little bigger than 75 pounds.
Well, you should put up a picture. So somewhere here as we're going along, just flash up a picture of him, and
sure,
just to get everybody give everybody an idea of what
I will.
What this wolf dog looks like. Right?
I will for sure. I'm sure there's something like that in him, right? So he's a pretty cool dog.
So what about your kids? Are they interested in photography at all, or?
My oldest, they both have iPhones, right? So my youngest does a lot of TikTok stuff, right? So she's in that age, right? So she's doing that. But my oldest has started to get into taking photos for her friends, mostly with her iPhone, right? So I mean, the iPhone these days is so, sometimes you couldn't even tell the difference between using an iPhone and an actual DSLR in some cases, right? When you blow it up, there's a difference. Yeah. But just on social media. So
on social media you can't.
You can't tell.
And I mean, for the most part, images that don't really require a whole lot of depth of field. And what I mean by that is if you're taking a photo of the mountain, most people don't have like a foreground. So it looks perfect. You know what I mean? It looks great, that kind of stuff. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And a lot of these phones too have these really cool, like the iPhone 11, and I'm sure you got the iPhone 12. They've got like portrait modes and stuff like that, right?
Yep.
And so it gives you that idea of depth of field too, right?
They do a pretty good job, actually.
Kind of yeah.
But she likes taking photos. She's taking photos of her friends. Some of them have started some, clothing business and stuff. So she's helped, take some photos of that and all that. So she's getting into it. She was talking to me about, she wants to learn about some video editing as well. So that might come too, but she's super busy with university and friends and don't see her very often, but
no, that's all good. That's, they're getting, I mean, what, one more year or
she's got
4 years?
She's got 2 more years. She did kind of, just the basic thing at the beginning of university, and then she's in a 4-year program now. She's a couple more years left for that. And
okay, cool.
And my other daughter wants to build a van and, buy one of those vans, soup it up and live in it. Right. So it's one of those. So she wants to do that and travel across the country. So she's making plans to do that. So that's kind of cool. So she wants me to help build it. So that'll be interesting. But
YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. And she
follow
watches
Thomas Heaton.
Yeah, totally.
Because he's doing his travel van right now, So
he's had a couple over the years. So this one seems to be a little more advanced than previous one.
A little more intense, for sure. Like the build is crazy.
Yes, so, lots of processes.
And it's nice that these guys are recording it, right? Like you're almost showing like a step by step.
Totally.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool that way.
What about you? I think you have one kid, hey?
Yeah, you betcha. Daughter, she's 21, finishing her 4th year university right now.
Nice.
And then she's got 2 more years to get her education degree. So
nice.
Yeah, so she's one of those crazy people that want to be a teacher.
Yeah, so, good for her.
I mean, very proud, super proud, and she's been teaching as she goes. Like she loves to teach riding, she loves to teach cosplay and that kind of stuff. I think it's just built into her, to want to teach and help, right?
That's awesome. Yeah, good for
her. Yeah, that kind of sums things up. I mean, she's got really, her time is pretty much school and cosplay, right? Okay, yeah. And she is working, absolutely, so she's a busy girl, but hey, that's how things are when you're that age and you're, starting an adult life and, so very proud of her. So very proud. Yeah, you betcha. So Chris, so obviously we should probably end the podcast with some photo related stuff again, right? Okay.
Well, I guess that's what this podcast is about. So that's probably a good idea.
Okay. So what items do you have that you have way too many of? Let's just ask that one first.
Way too many of?
Way too many of.
Well, I had way too many cameras and I had 5 and I'm doing a pretty good job of, let's step back, 5 mirrorless / DSLR cameras. Yeah. I've got pocket Osmos and video cameras and all those stuff, GoPros, all that stuff too. So, but on the DSLR / mirrorless side of things, I've started to pare down and work towards, you talked about gas, gear acquisition syndrome, right? We've talked about that a few times in our podcasts. I've started to sell some stuff. So, I had a 7D Mark II. A young guy bought that. He's loving it. I've actually heard from him. He's
Nice.
he's enjoying using that. I talked to his brother and all that. So yeah, he's loving that. He's a birder, so he loves taking photos of birds and stuff.
Perfect camera for that.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely. That's great. So I've got rid of that. I had a kind of like as you know, I've been migrating to the Fuji side of things. So I had a smaller Fuji. I ended up getting another Fuji. So I used the X-T3 and X-T4. They both have the same sensors. The previous Fuji didn't have the same sensors. So when I'm doing two video shoot, the quality was different and didn't look the same. Okay. So I got rid of that. So yeah, so now I'm down to two mirrorless and the Canon 5D Mark III. Still, the Canon 5D Mark III is my workhorse for landscape. And if I have to do portraits, that's my go-to camera for that.
It's still a great camera.
It is. Yeah.
I was back in the day, I wanted the upgrade from my 5D to my 5D Mark II, full frame. Yeah. And even after I got my 5D Mark II, I was so disappointed that I sold the 5D because the 5D was such a sharp, crisp, it was just an amazing camera.
Yeah.
And to this day, I almost wish I'm almost tempted to go buy it. You know what I mean? just to have it. Just to have it. Because I've got a picture of a grizzly sitting on its bum, kind of looking at me. Yeah. It's a 20 by 30 canvas, and it is tack sharp.
Is that right?
Tack sharp shot on the original 5D. I think it was 10 megapixel or 10 megabyte sensor or something like that, absolutely stunning,
Yeah.
But the 5D Mark II, the 5D Mark III, 5D Mark IV, you can't go wrong with those, man.
Yeah. I talked about, trying to upgrade to the 5D Mark IV for a while. Because there's more megapixels and, I think it is a better camera. Lots of people use the 5D Mark IV, but I still love the 5D Mark III. And then, like I said, I'm kind of in the mode to moving over to the Fuji side of things. I'm really, really, really enjoying the Fuji cameras. I like them a lot. Obviously it's all personal preference. You kind of, get used to what you're using 100%. And all that. But for the tactile adjustments and everything on the X-T3 and X-T4. Sure. Yeah, they're right there, right? You don't have to go in the menu or, scroll they're right there on top and everything's kind of nice and handy. So, I still am struggling with spending money on, big zoom lenses on the Fuji side because I have my Canon 70 to 200 2.8 and then 100 to 400, right? So I still have those and I have the adapter, so they do work on my Fuji. Fuji doesn't really have they do have a 100 to 400, but they don't really have anything longer as of yet. They're working on it. They're still building their lenses. They do have a 200 f2, beautiful lens, $9,000. And it comes with an 1.4 teleconverter.
Pocket change.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You're a broadcaster, you're a videographer, you're a photographer, you're starting
my own business over the last couple of years. It's can't do that at the moment, but Fuji just came out with another a medium format type camera that's 102 megapixels. They had one last year, the year before that was I can't remember the model number at the moment.
That was a 50 megapixel, right?
They had a 50 megapixel and then they came out with a 100 megapixel that was $13,000 Canadian, and they just pared down. They have a 100S or something like that. So they got another one coming out here that is 102 megapixels as well, but it's missing some of the functionality. So I think it's only like $6,000 or something like that. So one day, whatever, but that'd be a great landscape camera, right? So I think.
Yeah. And here's the thing, guys, when it comes to megapixels. Okay.
Yeah.
And I've always said that, what's the end game with your imagery?
That's right. Yes.
Because if you're going to, all you're going to do is social media and might print the odd 8x10, none of this stuff matters. No. Because a kit off the shelf for $500-$600 is going to do an amazing job for what you're going to use it for.
Agreed.
It's going to be social media sharp, right?
Totally agree.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Up to an 8x10, no problem at all. I mean, you can print an image from your iPhone, an 8x10, and have amazing results, right?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So don't get caught up on the megapixel race. Okay?
Agreed. Yeah.
Like, if you're a commercial photographer, sure, you may need that 50 megapixel, right? That kind of stuff, or this 100 megapixel camera coming. But, actually, F-Stoppers did a video on printing an image for a billboard.
Okay.
And I think, Chris, we'll put that in the description below. We'll put the link there below.
Link it in the video here as well.
Yeah. And what it is that file size was only 2 megabytes.
For a billboard.
For a billboard.
Wow.
Now, here's the catch behind this, guys. And it's the proper viewing distance.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say.
For an image, okay?
Yeah.
So as a billboard, 2 megabytes was plenty. Right. Because you're never going to walk right up
you're
the
not
look,
here,
okay?
right? Yeah.
That's right, okay? Yeah. So that's the same with images up on the wall. I mean, you can find a flaw in any image, really, if you think about it. Like you can walk out and just, look very close. But, some of these images that are, kind of on the grainy side, proper viewing distance, whatever it is, 3, 4, or 5 feet, whatever, whatever you're, you can get, say, the full view of the photo.
Yeah.
I mean, everything looks great.
Yeah, I mean, like I print canvases and stuff like that, and 5 feet wide. And if you have a coffee table and a couch, and then there's the canvas on the wall, you're what, 8, 10 feet away from it. You're not going to notice it. If you go up to it close, and you're going to notice it. But especially if you print on a canvas, you're not going to notice as much. You've said that in some of these podcasts, right? The quality of the canvases kind of covers the imperfections, I suppose, in your some of
the
your
graininess,
images.
not so much imperfections, but the graininess, right? You know? And I always say that with feathers and fur. Right.
Feathers and fur,
it's good for that. Right. So yeah, guys, I mean, it's a good point. We're talking about those cameras that are come out 50 megapixels, 100, but in the end, just think about the end game, because if you're going to shoot like 50 megabyte files and you're going to just reduce them to 1 megabyte files for social media or 500K or something, and that's all you're constantly doing, in the end, is it worth getting the amount of equipment and spending 10 grand,
Yeah. If you're not going to use it, don't spend the money
for a body and a lens,
totally.
For that. But
the only time that I think that you need something that big, if you're printing, like there's some of these guys that are printing like 8 feet tall by 4 feet wide and like multiple images on a wall or a boardroom, right? You want to print a nice boardroom photo. You want to have the highest quality and sharpness, because you're going to be close to those images, right? There's a gentleman in Vancouver. There's a bunch of people that do like pano stitching. I like pano stitching, right? Yeah. I've done a few of those and created like a 5 foot wide canvas. You can go up to that canvas. That thing is so sharp, because I basically zoomed in to 200 mils, basically took 14 vertical shots, stitched them together, and the quality up close is amazing. So if you're going to print something that big, great. But if I put that photo on social media, like you said, nobody's going to even know.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a good point you made. So when you're doing panos, guys, make sure that they're all shot vertically. So you got more pixels in there when you're stitching them. Don't put 2 or 3 horizontal images together.
No, don't do that.
So never do that. So make sure they are vertical. And then that way there you can kind of, and shoot a little bit on the wider side. So that way, when you can, later on, you can actually crop in and, get the right ratio and still have room within the photo for the crop you want. Right. So,
and there's a bunch of techniques. I mean, check it out online. I know one guy does like 100 shots and combines it together, becomes like a 2000 megapixel image. Right. So it just like you said, I mean, if you don't do that for social media, if you're doing it for a big boardroom wall at a, at a big corporate building, well, it's different. Right. So
for sure. And then some people argue, well, what if a publication comes to me and says, I want to use that image I saw on Facebook that's only 1 megabyte, and I want to use it for, I don't know, how many of those have you had happen to you, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's so few and far between that it's going to happen that way. So, I mean, it's just our opinion, it's just what it is. Who's to say that, in the next couple of years, I don't go for that 50, you know what I mean? For whatever reason, because my photography's gone a different direction. And let's say I'm doing commercial work, whatever. Right. So,
well, in some cases you can crop in further, but like you say, get it right in camera, right? We've talked about this many times, don't get the camera just so you can crop in and get better images. Really,
but here's the thing too, though. So I have a photographer friend that just recently bought a Canon R5 and that sort of thing, right?
Nice.
Which is full frame, and a huge bird nerd, right? Okay.
Yep. Bird nerd.
For a nerd. Yeah. I'm going to get in so much trouble for this. And so I'm not going to mention her name. And so I even narrows things down.
Yeah.
And, the idea behind it is so she can crop, know. So she's got, I believe, it might be the 100, the 400 with that. But because it's such a large sensor and it's full frame, she's able to crop in,
Okay.
So even cropping in, those birds look tack sharp, and that's all she's ever wanted was tack sharp images, so that's why she's moved up really fast over the last few years, from camera system to camera system to finally getting this. And so, you mentioned about cropping. Hey, you know what? Maybe, that's the logic behind it too. Maybe you'd want to upgrade to that so you can do more cropping because you don't have the length of the telephotos for it.
So I guess that, you could, go get a 800 mil lens or a 600 mil lens or spend the money there, thousands of dollars, or you can, you can spend it on the camera and crop in. I guess maybe, there's two options there, and then the camera could be used for other things, right? So. Yeah.
So, I mean, again, we're not against, large megapixel cameras at all. I mean, don't get us wrong. I mean, I'm still using 20, 22 megabyte files. You know what I mean? Yep. G9, 1DX Mark II, that kind of stuff. Sure. And, with the full frame, I can crop in 100% and still get, 20 by 30, no problem.
Agreed. Yeah. So I'm not saying I haven't cropped in. I do, but yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think, when I say getting a camera right the first time, it's more about sharpness and exposure and like that kind of stuff, right?
Fair enough.
Not necessarily the crop. I mean, if I can do the crop, especially with landscapes, absolutely 100%.
Okay.
But a lot of times when it comes to wildlife, you just can't,
No, and you want to reframe it or just get the shot and then deal with it when you get home. Make sure it's sharp and all that, right?
Because, a lot of times you don't want to encroach on the animal. Totally. You don't want to get too close and all that kind of stuff. So, you let them behave naturally. And when you get back, you will probably be cropping that image.
Yes, agreed.
That kind of stuff. So again, the larger sensor sizes, of course, come into play. So we're not being contradictory here. It's just remember what the end game is. Mm-hmm. If I was only doing social media stuff, it would be like a $500 camera off the shelf and an iPhone. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's it. So so I don't know, Chris. Maybe we should wrap things up. I think this is probably one of our longer episodes. I'm sure people are kind of getting tired of listening to us for this one. Especially you, the broadcaster of 27 years, which I had no idea.
Oh, I was behind the scenes guy for 27 years.
27 years, yeah, exactly. So let's we'll wrap things up. Guys, we really appreciate you sending in suggestions. This one was just kind of, minus 29, didn't want to get out in the field, kind of, just have a chat over coffee and, see what's up and maybe learn a little bit more about us and, how we got started. So, our next episode will probably be geared more to, again, outside, maybe some cold weather shooting stuff, that kind of stuff, that kind of thing,
Agree. Yep.
So guys, fire off those questions and we'll see you next time on the Nature Photo Guys podcast.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for joining us on the Nature Photo Guys podcast. If you have any questions, contact us at info@thenaturePhotoGuys.ca or message us on Facebook and Instagram at the Nature Photo Guys podcast. Visit YouTube and subscribe to our channel to watch all our latest videos. Or follow and listen to our latest podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on our website at thenaturePhotoGuys.ca. We'll catch you next time on the Nature Photo Guys podcast.